Well, I don't think there was one game. I think it was an escalation of many games till I finally arrived to the point of, I guess, being a hardcore gamer. I think it's a kind of mindset that I formed, and I know many other people form similar mindsets. It's the mindset that not only, well, first it starts off by you wanting to complete a game. I think that is the beginning, because at first when you're very casual, a lot of the games you play, you just play them, you have fun, you get stuck, and you're done. You don't really care, you go on to something else. But when you start to want to actually complete the game, that is the I think that was one of the first steps. Like, I wanted to complete, Super Mario. There's other games on the NES I could get into later. I'll probably state a specific list later of games that kind of I really wanted to complete, and that's gonna be hard to do. But yeah, I think it started out with that type of mindset. And when I got that mindset formed, and then from that mindset, not only did I want to complete it, then I wanted to find all the secrets about it. Now, that was the next step, because I mean, why would you want to do that? Or why would you want to get every power up or secret mushroom or secret room? And a lot of games influenced you being, or specifically me being hardcore. Games like Metroid, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Super Mario 3, finding all three flutes. I think that one had a big influence. Super Mario 3, finding all the three flutes, because most people could care less about that. Getting the magic wand. You know, I think that mentality. So first, wanting to complete a game, then finding all the secrets, or wanting to score the highest amount of points. That was the next step, and also being or playing a game at the highest level. I mean, what I mean by at the highest level, I mean, take a fighting game for instance. You can play it and learn how to do tricks and stuff like that, and then you can reach the level of mastery. And I think that's probably the last push that I can really remember that made me hardcore. It's wanting to be the master of a certain game, and a lot of times it's because I really like the game. Like, for example, Super Contra for the Super Nintendo. I really liked that game, and I wanted to complete it. And not only did I want to complete it, I played it so much that I started to master the game. And that happens with many games. You start to master the gaming mechanics of that game. So I think a lot of those that type of mentality, and that whole approach that you have to gaming is what starts to form a hardcore mentality. Now it's really hard to pick out a specific game that you want to say that made you hardcore. That I'm not sure if I can really say. Maybe later on in this dialogue I might pick a specific game, but I know Super Mario Brothers. That was one of the first ones, because once you realize how hard it was, it kind of intrigued me to want to complete it. I wanted to see, okay, what's the next stage look like? Or, I mean, why do I have to do that? What does that thing do? Or what happens at the end of the game? So I think that was one of the big games that really intrigued me. There was a racing game. I forgot the name of that racing game. I forgot the name. It was on the NES, but that game was probably before Gran Turismo. That was the most detailed racing game I had ever played. I think I might have to do a video on that. But that game was awesome, and I mean, so many for back then and that young. All the customization in that game, that was pretty hardcore for me to actually play it that long and that serious. Most kids, they play a quick few races here and there, and it's like, okay, I'm done. Me, I was like, no, I'm going to the next circuit. Okay, I'm going pro on this game. Super Mario 3 was another big one. Of course, I already mentioned the three flutes. Getting that was epic. Uh, Contra on the NES. That, I mean, of course, everyone knows the secret code to get 30 lives. But before I knew that, actually going through the game and completing it just like that, the will and drive and desire to do that. I mean, that game, Ninja Crusaders, Kabuki the Quantum Fighter. If you ever heard of these games and played them or seen them in action, there's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of technical hand and eye coordination is involved, and you have to be dedicated to go through those games and complete them at that age. That's pretty hardcore. And of course, Zelda and all the other ones. I mean, for you, I really think it's the mindset, and I don't think I even realized it, and I don't think many gamers really realized that they were hardcore until later on, because it starts to become a part of your mentality and the way you approach gaming in general. I mean, of course, you have some games you play just for fun and quick fix, but then you have games where it's like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna beat this, and your journey begins. Super Nintendo. I mean, Super Mario World, of course. Street Fighter, because that is a very technical game. There's a lot of technical aspects that you have to learn. And one thing I like to point out, I've mentioned it in another video, uh, about being classically trained. Whenever I say that, I'm talking about I had to go through that era of 3 lives, stage one, no instruction manual. Here you go, figure out the game. That's classically trained, and that's also part of being hardcore. At least from, in my opinion, our generation is being classically trained. You know, playing bump and jump. There's no manual, no secret guide. It's just here you go. It's all hand and eye coordination and technical skill. Other games on the Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy 2, going through Zelda: Link to the Past, my favorite Zelda game. Super Contra, Super Metroid. Uh, heck, playing Mario Paint and actually making an animation with music and text and stuff like that. If you actually went through that whole process instead of just coloring, that's pretty hardcore. So for me, it's more of the state of mentality that I didn't realize I had. There's other games I can't even remember. Like, I think there was Lobo 2 or Lobo 3. I had got that while I was sick. There's a few other games. I'm gonna have to find them to get the names, but when it still goes back to the mentality. Another thing, multiplayer games, Counter Strike. I played that I played in two of the leagues, the CPL, and I forgot the other one. I played on one. My team's name was Plasma Gaming and Tactical Damage. We got decently well known. There were a lot of bigger guys that knew about us, and I played that game. I could log onto my Xfire. It's well over 1,000 plus hours. Even though I haven't played it now, if I go back and tell you how many hours I spent on Counter Strike, it will probably blow people's minds away. I played that game to death, and that game has a steep learning curve. But once you get it, it's so rewarding. I remember the first time that I realized that I was owning so many people on different servers, to the point where they started kicking me because I was hacking. At that moment, you felt like a god. And I mean, that playing Counter Strike in a pro league, that's pretty hardcore. I don't. That's pretty much the apex of being hardcore, when it becomes like a daily. Like, I would be at work, I would be at school, and I would be thinking about Counter Strike. I would be thinking about the hand motion that the character makes with the guns after you fire them. I'll be thinking about situations and tactical maneuvers and stuff about that game daily. While I'm doing schoolwork, anything, I'll be thinking about Counter Strike. So, I think it's always been a part of you. I don't think you necessarily knew what hardcore was. It was just a state of mentality. So that's my thoughts. For me, I can't really pick a game, because I've always remember as far back as I can remember. And I'm not saying the first time I played a game I was hardcore. That's ridiculous. The first time, again, I played Super Mario Brothers, and yeah, I came across that big jump, and I was like, well, what the heck do I do? And I fell in the hole, you know. And I know many people did. Uh, and I think I don't know if anyone else did this. Am I the only person that, if you got the 3-in-1 game, Mario Brothers on the NES, I think I might have been one of the few people to actually try and play the running game without the pad, with the controller. And When I mean try, I don't mean, oh, I can't do anything. Okay, I'm done. No, I mean actually going through the game, trying to beat it with the pad, and then finding out that there's actual stages that you can't even play without the pad, and that's why I was losing. Because I kept thinking there's got to be a way I can use the pad. They wouldn't make a game to where you couldn't use the pad and play it. Of course, I was wrong. Also, Duck Hunt, man, going through Duck Hunt. I mean, and actually thinking you can beat it. I mean, me and several friends have sat down. It's been the weekend spent thinking we can actually, we just got to practice our aiming. Nah, you can't even cheat at Duck Hunt. I don't care if even if you cheated and got close to the screen, you still wouldn't beat that game. So. But yeah, I guess just to finish out, I don't want to keep going on and on, but I think it's always been that mindset, and it started with those few games from the beginning on the NES. The Mario Brothers, the Super Mario 3, the Zelda, the Ninja Crusaders, Kabuki the Quantum Fighter. There's several other games I can't recall by name, but it started by my approach to those games and how